Welcome to the Australian Business Executive Podcast, where we speak with Australia's most influential industry professionals on the business and economic development issues taking place across the country. You can stay up to date with all our content, including our magazines, podcasts and videos by visiting www.theabe.com.au and clicking on subscribe.
Today's guest is Guardian Insurance Group owner, Evan Jackson. Evan, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Yeah, good, Jess. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So give us an overview of Guardian Insurance Group.
Well, Guardian was started in 21st of August 1991. Prior to that, I was with Zurich Australian for 15 years. Fell out of love and decided to go into business for myself. And that's when Guardian started.
Okay. Now, the reason why we're here to do the interview and chat with you is this year you were celebrating your 30th anniversary. So why don't you just take us through what that means for you and tell us a little bit about the growth and changes within your own business to get you to this point?
Sure. We've evolved over a number of years, and I suppose when we all start off in business, we start off because there's need for income. But as you evolve and you put on staff, it's very important that if you want to be successful, that you share some values that are important to you and your clients and ultimately your staff, because that's how it should work. I mean, we started as Evan Jackson Insurance Services, which I was an agent, obviously starting from scratch and the dining room table at home. And then as we grew and I moved into a service office and got to a stage where I needed to employ a part-time person and did that. And then number two came along and the leads that were being generated meant that we needed another account exec. So eventually hired someone to take on that role, and so I thought to myself, well, I think we better get a bigger building. So I bought our first building, renovated that, and moved into that. And then 5 years later, we had something like 8 or 9 staff, outgrew the building we're in, which was basically a house, and moved into 53 Henley Beach Road, some 350 square metres of office space, and developed a business that was I suppose, very much an extension of Zurich to a degree, because that's where I came from, and I suppose all my values were built around the way Zurich does its business. And from there, we just grew, and to today, we now have 26 staff. We not only transact in general insurance business, we also have a financial planning arm, and we're about to embark on a legal services arm and a finance brokering arm. So great journey. I mean, 30 years has gone in a blink of an eye, because it's a bit like playing sport. Playing football, you run onto the pitch, you don't look at the clock, you just play the game.
In our dealings leading up to this interview, and I think you mentioned it briefly before as well, you talk a lot about customer service. Do you want to just elaborate on this and why it's such a core of your business and service offering?
Well, I suppose the one thing that's become apparent to me over the years, and I remember reading something, it must be 10 years ago now, and it basically said, well, if God can't please everyone, how can you? So, and look, and all of us in business, particularly when the business is growing, we are income sensitive, because we've got bills to pay, we've got people to pay, we've got all those things. And the one thing I found over the years is that we needed to be dealing with people that shared our values, and because it's birds of a feather flock together. And it was so much easier for us to deliver, because we actually offer, and to the best of my knowledge, we're the only brokerage that does in the marketplace, offer a money-back guarantee on commissions and fees. And to now, to date, we haven't had to do that, which is great. But that doesn't mean we haven't lost customers. I mean, you do lose some customers for a multitude of reasons. But at the very thing we need to do is be able to offer a tangible service, which we do have, and it's measurable and it's sustainable, all those sort of things. Because if we don't offer a service that is measurable, then the measure can only be price. And we're just not that sort of brokerage. We aren't a brokerage that relies on being the cheapest in the market. I mean, we're competitive, and we're competitive in a lot of spaces, because it's a bit like, you buy a cheeseburger or you buy a cheeseburger with a lot, and we're a cheeseburger with a lot. We provide, we have a claims department that's independent from our account execs that handle all claims for and on behalf of clients. And so when people come to assess us, it's not just about price. It's about how do we handle and protect their financial well-being. And what's important is that they feel like we form part of their organisation, and vice versa. So it's a two-way street.
I was going to ask you, what else you think you do that differs from your competitors? And there was two things that stuck out in my mind from when we originally spoke. And that was, the fact that you stand by a money back guarantee. And then we're also talking about within the insurance industry, there's always something that you guys are dealing with external to your services, like COVID and bushfires. Do you want to just kind of, elaborate and open that up for people that might be listening?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because a few things have come up in the last few days, and I think the days of just being an insurance broker is just not enough. We're continually being dragged into legal matters. We're being dragged into business issues. And I particularly during these tough times with COVID and bushfires, where people are being dragged from A to Z, and they're looking for support, because the tough times are the times that I suppose expose people for their real business acumen and work to their business. There are people during COVID that have come out of it, that have done exceptionally well, and there are people who've just been devastated, and which is a horrible thing. So as a broker, it can't be that we just go there and it's about pricing, it's about this or that. It's about how do we support our clients during these tough times. And look, we've made sure that that we're advising them of what's happening in the courts in relation to COVID and possible claims on their business interruption insurance. It's making sure that clients receive full benefits of their policies. So and the one thing above all is that we need to be absolutely honest about the state of play. It's a bit like I was visiting a friend in the hospital who's about to have an operation on his lungs, and this young guy walks in. He's got this green cotton suit on, like most hospital people wear. And he said, "Hi, my name's Jack, and I'm your surgeon." And my client's looking at him, looked like he was about 21 rather than, older. And he said, "Guess what? You're my first patient." and I'm looking at the terror on my clients' faces, and he said, "Look, I've read about this operation. I've talked to a couple of people after this operation. It's going to be tough. And there's a few issues, but we'll get through this together." And he looked at him, and they just looked like stunned mullets. And he said, "Well, any questions?" And he said, "No." "Okay, see you in the morning." Off he went. And I thought to myself, wow, this guy had come in, been absolutely honest with them, and And I just thought it was a wonderful thing. So when it comes to our clients and their situation with COVID and bushfires, and bear in mind, we've prepared a lot of our clients. Like most of our clients have business interruption insurance. We review their sums insureds every year. We do all these things. We're very, very confident about our clients' position when it comes to adequacy of sums insured or cover. But at the same time, you can't be complacent. And you got to help these people through these tough times. That's what we get paid to do. We don't get paid just to provide a price. We're there, and we make sure we're there to help them through the ordeal, good, bad, or indifferent.
What are the other industries that are being faced by the industry? I think, we previously spoke about the Banking Royal Commission, and you really had an opinion on the industry's poor response, overall to managing indiscretions.
Look, I think when it comes to the pandemic, we all knew how to spell it, but we really didn't know what it would look like, what the ramifications would be. And I just think when it came to all this, that the financial services industry, which includes bank, insurers and government, I suppose, really, really should have come to terms with this. We had the issue with the Twin Towers, and when was it, 2000 or 2001, whenever it was. And immediately we put together a fund for terrorism. So from every insurance policy, there's a certain amount that goes to terrorism. So there's all this money sitting somewhere for an act of terrorism. And it's a shame that we haven't developed, or that fund hasn't changed to a catastrophe fund rather than something specific for terrorism. Because let's face it, I think since the Twin Towers, we had an issue in Australia at a cafe in Sydney, which is the closest thing that we're aware of that we have with terrorism. And I just think rather than I just think everyone should have got together, including the banks, put some money on the table to help these people. Because what's going on now, there's all these legal matters going on in the background, and these matters are going to cost a lot of money. I mean, the legal fees are probably in the vicinity of excess of $2 or $3 million, and then you've got arguments about whether it's a claim or not a claim, and then there's going to be arguments that does it meet this term and condition. In the meantime, these people are going broke because they can't afford to continue their business, or they can't afford, or they don't have the correct cover in place, or the banks aren't supporting them. I mean, everyone's running around and deferring payments, but there's a mountain of payments for some people down the track which will not be met. So I think as an industry, we really needed to step up. And when I say an industry, I'm talking financial services, not just the insurance industry, and made sure that we help the market that feeds us. I mean, at the end of the day, these clients, we don't survive. We don't exist without clients, and they've relied on us from here on, and even the banks have relied on us. So I just think if we had money in a tin somewhere for terrorism, well, why didn't the government and the industry say, well, why don't we use this to give some relief to business owners and the like? Look, a lot of assistance came from the government, which is fantastic, but ultimately that's going to have to be paid through taxes. I'm not sure what the banks did, from what I can see, and which might be a narrow point of view. I can't see they did too much other than defer payments, big deal. But yeah, look, it's important that we protect our ecosystem. It's a bit like tuna fishermen. If you don't protect the species, well, how do you continue to exist?
I think that's a fair point. Look, as we wrap up then, after 30 years, are there any acknowledgements that you'd like to make?
Oh, look, first and foremost, my clients. Our clients are tremendous people, innovative. They're the best corporate brochure we have. The up to this day, we continue to be inundated with leads, and referrals, which is wonderful. Secondly, with the volume of clients we have, it's impossible for me to keep them all happy, and I do that. My staff are in effect an extension of myself, and I act as a client advocate within the organisation, which is important. My staff, are all fully qualified, do their best to provide that service, and that's what I can ask of them. And look, it'd be remiss of me not to mention the underwriters that have supported us over the years, like the Zurichs this world, QBE, Allianz, CGU, all of them. The one thing at this stage of my career, and it's 50 years I've been in insurance this year in January, all the wonderful relationships and friends that I have, and people and that I've met over the years, and I would never have been able to do that without being involved where I am right now. So it's a wonderful thing for me. And looking as an industry, I'm proud of what the industry does for the community at large. That's not to say it can't do better, but in the main, we provide a very important level of protection. During the GFC, people didn't realise, but it wasn't the banks that was the issue, it was the insurers, because banks can't survive without insurers. You think about it. They provide funds to buy a property, but they want that property insured. So we're very much an integral part of the business landscape, and I'm very proud of being part of that.
Excellent. Well, Evan, thanks very much for your time today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
This has been a production of the Australian Business Executive, a division of Romulus Rising Proprietary Limited, all rights reserved. You can stay up to date with the Australian Business Executive, including our magazines, podcasts and videos, by visiting www.theabe.com.au and clicking on subscribe.